House Republicans holding a weekend strategy session looking ahead to President-elect Trump's new term as Speaker Johnson reveals Trump favors a conservative policy overhaul in one sweeping package. Joining us now with more from that meeting is GOP Congresswoman Claudia Tenney. Congresswoman, great to see you this morning. So you've had a fun week. You all had some drama on Friday, but you came up with a speaker. And then you all met, huddled privately off campus yesterday. Tell us about that meeting and what you all arrived at.
Well, I thought it was a tremendous meeting, and I think that one of the most important things to gain from that meeting is what an historic time we're at right now. The fact that Donald Trump was able to win with a mandate, and the fact that the Republicans were able to take back the Senate and, yes, a very slim majority in the House. But this is a moment where we have to make sweeping changes. We have to make a difference to the American people. And I think we're in a great position to do that. It reminds me of maybe our founding. It's that important, or even what Lincoln faced during the Civil War. We have a president who is a rough-hewn entrepreneur, matched with Mike Johnson, who is a constitutional scholar, both courageous, both understand the mission. And I think we're going to be carrying that out. And I think it's a really exciting time to see the two of them, which I think they're an interesting, perfect match, actually, for right now. They're trying to balance, what our founders looked at. How do we preserve freedom but protect our security? That's the border. That's stopping the oppression from the over-bureaucratization, the deep state, so-called, versus freedom, economic freedom, energy, releasing American energy and allowing us to be the dominant player on the world stage. Tax cuts, border, all these things are going to come together to enhance what we call ordered liberty and what our founders envisioned. I think we're right there at a moment to save America, and I think that's what President Trump and Mike Johnson and obviously Leader Thune in the Senate, that was their message. And of course, we got to hear from the great Stephen Miller about what his plans are and his leadership as well. Truly,
truly historic, and you couldn't find two more divergent characters working together, which is a good thing. So the general idea, big picture idea, is that we're looking at border, tax cuts, and perhaps debt ceiling all in one package. Is that kind of what y'all are going for, and is that doable?
Yes, well, that's what we're going to have to do. And I think one of the things that Speaker Johnson emphasized is that we need to do this in one large bill because we've got to get it done. We can't miss an opportunity. We only get two shots at reconciliation, and that's that procedure in the Senate because we don't have a 60-vote margin. So by doing that, we have certain limitations coming from the Senate parliamentarian, but we've got to get these initiatives done. We have a president who has promised the American people to do it. We've said Speaker Johnson said, keep your powder dry. Let's make sure that we work with every single member, all of their needs and wants, what is in the best interest of the American people. And unity is going to be the order of the day. We can't afford to lose one member. Basically one.
As we saw Friday.
And Yes, well, that was, but this is what it's going to look like. It's going to be very arduous, but I think Speaker Johnson is the perfect person to do this, to work with Donald Trump, who's very forceful, but Speaker Johnson is persistent, he's courageous. He's also very patient and very willing to be sympathetic and listen to the needs of our very diverse conference, which we have to get together. This is historic. We have to put this together. We have to deliver for the American people, and I think we have a unique combination of true patriots that are going to do that.
Well, it's going to be interesting to watch for sure. Congresswoman Tenney, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Thank you.
I'm Steve Doocy.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis.